Welcome to a new episode of Nine Pandas, the YouTube channel where we try to learn more about China. And today I have the great honor to have Winston Ma with me in this discussion about China, blockchain, central bank, digital currency, and all these things. Winston Ma, he's an investor, an attorney, an author, and adjunct professor in the global digital economy. He is currently a VC fund GP founder and sits on the board of several tech startups. Most recently, for 10 years, he was managing director and head of North America office for China Investment Corporation, CIC, which is actually China's sovereign wealth fund, right? Yeah. And he is also an adjunct professor at the NYU School of Law and a member of the New York University President's Global Council since inception. In 2014, he received the NYU Distinguished Alumni Award. He is also the author of a book called The Digital War: How China's Tech Power Shapes the Future of AI, Blockchain, and Cyberspace, as well as other books about sovereign wealth funds and mobile internet economy in China, which is all really, really interesting. And I just have the book right here. So,
thank you.
The Digital War: How China's Tech Power Shapes the Future of AI, Blockchain, and Cyberspace, and will bring us all, the whole world, including America, into the future, right? Yes.
Totally.
And also what I find, I mean, personally, I'm a software developer, and what I find very epic is also that, Winston, you were one of the first software developers in China, right? In 1994. Yes, and then you went into finance, and now
yes.
the whole finance came back into IT, right? So
yes.
It's perfect, right?
Yeah, and actually, my undergrad major back in China was in semiconductor physics, electronic materials major. And during that time, China had very few software programmers. Therefore, the government has a national exam to certify software programmers. So I sat in the exam for one day, solved programming problems, in Pascal, C, and Fortran languages, and I got to that certification. And from there, I thought I would become the first generation IP lawyer, intellectual property lawyer. So that's why, from the electronic material undergrad major, I got into the law school, and I became a Chinese lawyer. Then in 1997, I got a scholarship from NYU Law School to pursue a Master of Law degree in the US. Right? So then I passed the bar. I became a securities lawyer at Davis Polk, New York. And then after 3 years, I went to B school, so I transitioned into investment banking, right? Mostly JP Morgan and Barcap. So I had 10 years like Wall Street lawyer and a banker, and then 10 years with CIC, China's sovereign wealth fund. And now I'm back to the capital markets in New York, right? So I work on a new cloud tree venture VC fund where I'm a founding member. And I'm also a adjunct professor at NYU Law School, on sovereign wealth funds and the related legal topics, right? And as you said, I also sit on a few boards, fintech, tech companies, which give me the exposure to the new blockchain and the crypto worlds.
So you started out as a software developer, then you went into law and finance, and finally everything is merging together. So
yeah, I think it's the beauty of the digital economy. Like every different discipline can eventually be part of that. Be part of this digital economy, right? Because you need law, you need finance, you need tech, and going forward, and relating to our topic today, right? The government policies become increasingly important in that mix, right? So you need expertise in many different areas to be relevant, in the digital economy.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, from the news, we always hear that several countries, they have projects, or the central banks, they have projects to create their own blockchain currency. It's called central bank digital currency, right?
Yes,
so
CBDC.
Several countries have such projects, but actually I think China is probably the country that is most advanced in this project, right?
That's correct. Yes. China is the first major global economy to have mass scale testing of the digital economy. And at the same time, China may become the first major economy to actually launch the digital currency, across the economy.
And everybody from the whole world will be looking to China to see how it goes, right? How it works and so on.
Yeah, considering China has 1.4 billion people, right? And based on different kind of parameters, China could be viewed as the largest economy in the world. Then, whatever China's test is, right, it will become a super valuable reference for other countries, especially the major economies like the US, like the EU. Switzerland is independent as well, right? To look at that as a reference case for the testing and the launch of the CBDC.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, what me always fascinates about China, and why I think it never gets boring, is really that China is always moving forward into the future. So thanks again for joining. And now I have a few questions to you about this eYuan, the Chinese central bank digital currency. Yeah.
Totally. So, and then just for the background of the audience, right? Yuan is the Chinese currency, also known as RMB, right? Yeah. And then Yuan is also like the unit. Yeah. So naturally, the digital currency CBDC of China is referred to as the eYuan.
So in Europe, it's the euro, in the US, it's the dollar, and in China, it's the yuan, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. So what is China's central government policy regarding blockchain, and what's the connection with the central bank digital currency, the eYuan? What is the connection?
A great question to start the discussion, because it is very important to recognize that China bifurcates blockchain from the crypto economics. Yeah? And from a China government's perspective, these are two different topics. On one hand, in 2019, President Xi announced that blockchain is a critical technology. He called Chinese tech companies to grasp the opportunities to make China a blockchain innovation center. Now, this is quite significant because this marked the first global economy leader to endorse blockchain, which is a highly hyped but not fully proven technology, right? By contrast, the leadership figures in the West are more conservative in terms of endorsing blockchain. Now, another aspect, the other side of the story, is that China prohibits crypto trading in China, right? China has eliminated crypto exchange out of China. And in a new rule last month, China is launching a crackdown on crypto mining and the trading in China. Okay. So to put this discussion in context, right? China supports blockchain as a critical technology. and wanted to become this leading blockchain innovation center in the world. But at the same time, China prohibits crypto mining and trading, right? So that means crypto has little room in China's market, and between these two drastic extremes, you see the emergence of CBDC, because it is the sovereign digital currency of China based on blockchain-like technology.
Okay,
yeah.
So again, the trading platforms, they are outlawed, but do you know peer-to-peer trading of cryptocurrencies? Is this still allowed, or it's basically also not allowed?
Well, that's the gray area right now, and then the market has to wait for the shoe to drop, from the Chinese regulators. At this moment, it's a bit of a gray area, because on one hand, onshore exchanges are no longer exist, right? But at the same time, many exchanges have moved overseas, and their apps can still be accessed by Chinese investors onshore in China. Right?
Okay, yes, okay. Then let's go to the next question. So basically the eYuan, it's based, or at least partly based, on blockchain technology.
Right.
And in the blockchain technology, as we know, there is this ledger. For example, in Bitcoin, you can go to a website, for example, you can search an address, and then you can see who transferred what to this address from and to. So the question is, with the eYuan,
yes,
is there also a public blockchain, or is it private?
Well, it is definitely not a public blockchain. It is very centralized, right? Centralized in the hand of the central bank. And it is not a complete blockchain. In the words of the central bank, they used quote unquote blockchain-like technology. They used some blockchain-like technologies to manage the data, probably to help the security of the data, right? But overall, it is not a public chain as we understand it, right? So we cannot expect the same kind of transparency for the overall transaction of eYuan among the 1.4 billion people.
But it makes it safe, basically. The blockchain is used to make the system safe, the transaction safe, right? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It is used as a new technology to manage the underlying data and the transaction data, right?
And so I've heard that, or I've seen some stories that, for example, in Shenzhen, they already did some tests with this eYuan. I think in some kiosks or so, you could you would get 200 RMB. There was a lottery. I think some people got this for free, and then they could buy something. And so the question is, how far or how fast will it move on? So what is the plan for the rollout of the eYuan in China?
Yes, what you described is a series of pilot programs to make the average Chinese users getting used to the format of eYuan and the transactional experience of that. So several aspects. Number one is the testing of eRMB in numerous user like e-commerce cases. Whether it's online or offline, but the focus is on retail. So in different kind of context of retail, eRMB has been tested, and it is a very good way, right, to get average Chinese citizen to get used to it. Because everyone needs to buy something. And then another major development is on the hardware side. The ICBC, a major commercial bank, has worked with China's central bank to launch some prototype hardware terminal for eRMB processing. So the hardware is being tested, and eventually it will be distributed, to all the offline sites, right?
Okay.
And the third aspect of spreading the usage of e-renminbi, is to develop the partnership through with the existing third-party payment apps. When you look at the third-party mobile payment market, right now Alibaba and Tencent control more than 90% of the market. The Alipay of Alibaba, the Wechat Pay of Tencent, they're very popular, right, among nearly 1 billion internet users in China. And for the spread of the e-renminbi, it is very smart, for the central bank to develop a partnership with these third-party payment apps. They got integrated into those interfaces. So when people go into the mobile apps, they can see the choice of using e-renminbi, right? So it is a great entry point, for the e-renminbi to be used by the average users. The more they use it, and the more they use it in the same context of mobile apps, the mobile payment apps that are used to, the more comfortable they get to.
Sure. Yeah.
So these days, lots of user cases, also the rollout of the smart hardware, and also the partnership with mobile payment apps. All these are pushing the spread of e-renminbi users.
So basically, I mean, China is already today almost a cashless society, right? People pay with their phones, as you said, with Alipay and Wechat Pay.
Right.
Wechat, which is the Chinese Facebook of, but actually it's much more than just Facebook.
Exactly. It's more like a Facebook plus Instagram, right? Plus YouTube, everything, right?
Yeah, it's like, And so now basically the next step will be to then convert this WeChat Pay and this Alipay to the eYuan system or blockchain.
It's more about partnership at this moment, because it's still unclear, whether the average users will simply give up the mobile payment apps, right, and go directly into the e-renminbi wallet, and they may coexist for a long time, but at this moment, they become more and more integrated, which means in many contexts, whether it's a shopping mall, whether it's about buying movie tickets, whether it's about booking a restaurant, you can always find the choices. You can always have the choice to choose between the existing third-party mobile payment versus and the e-renminbi wallet, right? And the more I think, if this trend goes on, right, then you can imagine that some part of the 90% market share of Alipay and Wechat Pay will go to e-renminbi or eYuan wallet.
Okay. Looking forward to using it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So also with blockchain, with cryptocurrencies, there's always this topic about how fast will the transactions actually be, and how many can you do, like in the whole network per second. So how many transactions per second does the eYuan support? And
it's a very straightforward. It's just as quick as the Alipay WeChat Pay transaction. In fact, it is even more convenient because it can be paid without internet connection.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
So if you just have devices next to each other, you can have payment. But if you think about it, that's the same for the fiat currency, right? You do not need internet connectivity when you pay something with your fiat currency or coins, right? So this, in this case, I think when China's central bank designs a CBDC, it really makes every effort to ensure the user experience will be almost the same as using existing paper currency or using existing mobile payment apps.
Okay.
So the hope is, there's no big change of the user experience, so that there will be wide adoption, by the broader public.
It's very important, yeah. I mean, I remember like, I think one Bitcoin transaction I once did was like 15 minutes or so. So that was far too long. And I think even Dogecoin transactions, they are a couple of seconds. But I think Wechat Pay and Alipay and so on, they are just almost instant, right? It's like paying with a credit card or something like this. Is very fast, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, because for eYuan, right, it is for daily activities, so it should be the same as existing mobile payment apps, right? But for Bitcoin payment, right, it's for different kind of purposes, different kind of context, right?
Yeah, and with China, where you have like over 1 billion people, if everybody has to wait just a few seconds, this will cost a lot. So,
exactly, yeah.
So,
the consensus is gonna take some time.
Yes, yeah. Okay, cool. So next question would be, is it planned that in the future all payment transactions in China will be using the eYuan? I mean, you've said they're in a testing phase, so even they're not sure yet. They have to test it first, see if everything works and so on. But is this kind of the vision of where they want to go to?
Yeah, so I think two things. Number one, as I said, it's probably going to coexist for a long time. Especially in the retail market, right? And the second aspect is for enterprises, for institutions. I think the RMB will gain more attraction versus mobile payment, right? Like if you are a company, you're buying 1,000 tons of steel, right? And you're gonna make another B2B payment, right? And for that kind of a B2B context, I think eRMB will be readily adopted, by the enterprises.
Okay, great. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, then the next thing would be that during the rollout of the eYuan, which is actually right now, I mean, it has been already started like a couple of months ago, I would say, or maybe even over a year ago.
Even more. Yeah, it started like early 2020. When I started writing the book, The Digital War. At the time, it had the first pilot program in 4 cities. And then in the second half of 2020, it rolled out to almost all the major cities, including Beijing capital, as well as Shanghai, the largest cosmopolitan city, and this year, right, they're testing CBDC in more and more business contexts, right? Whether it's online, offline, shopping malls or supermarkets, vending machines, transportation, and even in the agriculture, like rural areas, like the farmers markets, etc. So so during the last, let's say 12-18 months, right, they have done a lot of testing, and you can imagine, in the second half of the year, they will do more. The one I will watch is the Singles Day, November 11th. The shopping extravaganza, right? Which is bigger than the Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined in the US. During the 24 hours, there will be, if you use last year's data, was like a $74 billion transaction, right? So I will be very interested to see, if in the coming Singles Day, November 11th, the eRMB will be widely used, among the $70 billion transactions in 24 hours.
That's like the graduation test, right? If it can match this day, then it's okay. It's okay.
Totally agree. Yeah, and I think the ultimate goal of the government is to launch the CBDC, officially launch the CBDC at the 2022 Winter Olympics next year.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Now, of course, there's no kind of set schedule, but this was the targeted schedule, when the pilot programs started last year.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. At the rollout of the eYuan, China again is further tightening up the regulations of crypto mining. I mean, as we all know, I think most of the hash power of the Bitcoin network is currently in China, right?
Exactly.
It's like Elon Musk was saying, okay, maybe some of this energy is not actually really environmentally friendly also, right? And I think in some provinces of China, I've heard that those mining factories have actually been shut down also, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they moved somewhere else also. So yeah, the question is, what is the connection with the tightening of the regulation of crypto mining and trading and the eYuan?
Yeah, I think it's easy to make that connection, even though the two things, as we discussed, are very different, right? CBDC is centralized, a sovereign nature, and the cryptos are decentralized and global currency, right? And I think that the connection of the two in the China market is quite obvious, that when the central government wants to expand the reach of the CBDC, it makes sure that the speculative nature of the crypto trading is out of the picture. Yeah.
Okay.
So said differently, they want to launch the CBDC without any speculative noises in the background.
Okay.
And I think it's really important, for CBDC to be put in the context of just, let me put it this way. It is important for China to make sure that CBDC comes out just as regular currency, because at the same time, the crypto trading side is characterized by high volatility and lots of speculation.
Yes.
Yeah. And here, the government's message about CBDC is that it is exactly the same as the fiat currency. And secondly, its user experience is exactly as the typical mobile payment apps, right? And so therefore, there's nothing special about the CBDC that people will use it for speculative trading, or like in some cases of crypto projects in China, they ended up in fraudulent scandals.
That's worldwide always a little bit the problem with those cryptocurrencies. I mean, like the other ones,
but it's interesting, right? That China is the largest crypto mining market in the world, and for obvious reasons, right? Lots of people, lots of energy, right? And also lots of mining machine manufacturing.
It's electronics, right? It's kind of the superpower of electronics, I would say.
And hardware.
And hardware, these days.
Now, even though we're talking about digital currency and the digital economy, that does not mean that the manufacturing capabilities of China, right, the made in China story is no longer relevant. Instead, the manufacturing capability is really the reason that China is also the center of mining rig manufacturing for the world.
Right? Yes, and they're used to developing very fast. So every time something new comes up, China is usually in the forefront because they're just used to moving fast, right?
Exactly. like new rigs, new equipments, always coming up for the new tokens.
So now the West has to catch up, right? That's actually your book, right? The Digital War, right? It's China is moving fast, and it's like the Olympics, right? Now Europe and the United States and others, they have to speed up, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because on one hand, we say China is the biggest mining market, right? But on a related topic, don't forget that China is also the largest blockchain patent application place.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
For example, Alibaba is the #1 blockchain patent application. Alibaba is the #1 patent application applicant in the world. And for top 10 of patent applications, Chinese companies occupied about like 7, So it's, again, right, going back to the bifurcation we talked at the very beginning of this discussion, China takes this bifurcated view about blockchain innovation and crypto trading, let's say, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see that China is at the center for both. It is the largest crypto mining and trading. At the same time, it is also, a leading blockchain technology center, right? Has the most of the blockchain patent applications in the world.
Yeah. It's fascinating, and again, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I never get bored at China, because there's always so many things going on. So this is just one aspect, but there's like many others, of course. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So, another question would be, and I think that also interests me personally, and probably also many companies who do trade with China,
right?
And maybe even tourists or so who from China who want to travel somewhere else, or tourists from here who want to travel to China.
Exactly.
It's basically the question about the cross-border transactions. So do you think the eYuan will make those cross-border transactions easier?
Yes. I think both at the enterprise level and at the retail level, like just travelers level, both will happen. At the enterprise level, right? For lots of countries that have trade relationship with China, people would ask, why do we need a dollar in the middle, right? And so for many countries, they may sell resources to China, and then they buy Chinese consumer goods, right? Let's say the Middle East guys, and they say, why do we need the US dollar in the middle? And so we can just use renminbi to settle the oil sale, and then we use the renminbi to buy Chinese goods, right? And when you have a digital version of the currency, it makes the transaction easier and more transparent. So I can imagine, those kind of cross-border transactions will take on e-renminbi. And at the individual level, I think it's even easier. Like for foreigners that carry foreign passports, they can download the digital wallet when they arrive China. And they can convert money and use the renminbi just as Chinese there, right? And we talked about the hardware. Now the Chinese commercial banks are testing e-renminbi vending machine. Yeah. So So if a foreign traveler lands in China, they find a e-renminbi vending machine. They just deposit foreign currency, whether it's euro or pounds, or US dollar, right? They deposit the foreign currency into the machine, and the machine will automatically spit out a digital renminbi card, with converted currency. Then you start using it.
Oh, wow. I would like to test that, yeah.
Exactly.
If they need testers, I would sign up. So.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, because before I remember when I went to China, again, as a foreigner, I could mostly just use the regular cash, the bills and the coins. And again, that wasn't very convenient anymore because yeah, they are used to paying digitally. So
Exactly.
so this would be great.
As a foreigner, you cannot use WeChat Pay easily, right? Because WeChat Pay and Alipay has to be linked to a banking card, right? And the foreigners may not have a banking card in China.
Mm-hmm. I even just a quick story. I even just remember once or twice when I was flying from Europe to Beijing Capital Airport.
Right.
When I got out of the airport, I would just want to buy a small bottle of water. So I went into a convenience store, usually very early in the morning.
Right.
And then I just had only had a 100 RMB banknote. So
I see.
I bought this water, maybe 2 or 3 RMB, and then I gave this bill, and then I could already see the face of the shop assistant who weren't very happy.
Exactly.
After I bought it, they used all their change, and then basically they had to close the store to get more change after I bought this bottle. So it was really inconvenient. So
yeah, exactly, it's about inconvenience, and it's also about those small convenience stores worry about fake currency, right? Obviously, they should trust you, but someone may come up with a fake 100 RMB bill, which is fake, right?
Yes, and it will be very difficult to fake the eYuan. Will be very, very difficult.
Exactly.
Impossible.
Exactly.
Do you think in the future it will be possible for the whole world to use, hold, and invest eYuan? And you've answered most of it already, but what you didn't answer is whether people outside of China can buy eYuan and hold it outside of China.
The quick answer is yes. Because eRMB is a new tool for China to increase the internationalization of the Chinese RMB currency. Right now it is still not globally used, right? But with its convenience, its transparency, the digital yuan, the CBDC of China may help the spread of renminbi globally. Help the internationalization of renminbi to be used in more context. Whether by enterprises or by individuals. Yes. So the answer is yes.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. And yes, so let's close this session. So I would really like to thank you again, Winston. Was fascinating to listen to you. Like so many different worlds, and actually the future of many of us, maybe also of my my future a little bit financially. I mean, how I can pay and so on. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to go to the Beijing Olympics and use eYuan. That would be great.
Fantastic. And I thank you again for having me, right? Especially for the China-Switzerland collaboration that you're working on.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Obviously, China is testing the digital renminbi, but Switzerland, right, is also a leading player, in digital currency. Both sovereign CBDC as well as the cryptos and Bitcoins, so on and so forth, right? So I think between China and Switzerland, we will see lots of important tests, learning and actual practice, of the digital currency topics, which is tremendously valuable to the rest of the world.
Yes, let's figure out what our future will be. Yes, let's work together. Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
And again, I would also just want to recommend once again the book, The Digital War, by Winston Ma. I can really recommend it. If you want to know about your future, read here. So,
yes. Thank you.
Okay. Again, thanks again, Winston. And yes, talk to you another time.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much.
yes.
Take care, Carly.
See you. Bye, Winston.